everyone, Nathan here, and I'm here with Jason Miles, an Instagram expert. Jason, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing great. And I'm actually really excited to talk to you. So, real quick, if you go back 6 months ago, my girlfriend, she was on Instagram all the time. I saw her looking at celebrities and
Yeah.
food cooking and food and all that. And I thought it was crazy. Like, well, why would I ever have an Instagram account? Well,
Yeah.
6 months later, I've got 7,000 followers on Instagram and I'm using it for business. I'm getting clients. I'm getting networking with great influencers that have helped free up. And it's come a long way. Not to
Yep.
say that I'm a pro, but I definitely see the potential there. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But before we do that, why don't we take a step back and talk about you and your background and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to do it. We're entering our 10th year and in our e-commerce business. And so it's been a good run. My wife and I started at our kitchen table on eBay 10 years ago. And before that, I had a long career as a nonprofit executive in marketing and fundraising for most of my career. And then ultimately I was senior vice president of marketing at a university here in Seattle. And so I was always the helper for my wife's e-commerce effort and moonlighted really for helping her for about 5 years. And then on January 1st, 2014, went full time with the family biz and have never looked back. It's been a blast. I've always wanted to write. I've sort of had that as sort of a side hustle for a long time now. And so the book work has come out of that. Yeah.
So your book is called Instagram Power. Why
Yep.
Instagram? Why are
Yeah.
you diving into that space?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. My first book that was published with McGraw-Hill was called Pinterest Power. The second book was YouTube Marketing Power. Third book had to be Instagram Power, you know? So the first book came out, Pinterest Power, in 2012 with McGraw-Hill. And that was a result of me blogging. I was blogging fanatically about Pinterest marketing and just was totally into it. And Pinterest totally blew up our business. Our business, in case anybody wants to go check it out, is pixiefair.com. It's an e-commerce marketplace. We do about 60 to 70,000 transactions a month this last year. That was sort of our rate. And it's all in the sewing niche. And so we've had about 3.5 million digital patterns downloaded from our site. And then we also have monthly recurring membership, like Sewing with Cinnamon is what it's called, and then online courses. So Pinterest radically helped us, like 2012. And I wanted to blog. I wanted to, I didn't know how to be an author. So I just started blogging, got a book deal. And then the book went really, really well. McGraw-Hill offered me, the chance to write some more. So I did YouTube, which we had also used to scale up our business. And then in the course of those years, 2012, 2013, Instagram had become a big deal for our business, kind of like what you're, describing just happened to you in the last 6 months. So we've just been at this for a long time. We've just been in it, immersed in it since sort of the earlier days. We've seen it grow, and in the last 2 to 3 years, just become this like supernova social media site that everybody's talking about, everybody's on. And I think there are reasons for that we can get into.
Yeah,
But
I have
we've
a ton of questions.
Okay, all right. So that's sort of the backstory on why Instagram Power came to be. Yeah.
So is it different running an Instagram, let's say for the first 6 months where you're getting off the ground to when you get more established to when I'm assuming you're a big influencer? Do you have a different strategy that goes into place, and maybe kind of walk us through that
Sure.
mindset?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, man, the answer is yes. I mean, when you're first setting up your account, you're trying to figure out a couple things. One is your content strategy. So what value proposition are you bringing to your Instagram work? I mean, what is of benefit to the people who are going to follow you? And you're really starting to sort that out and think it through. And then you're also trying to figure out how to leverage your other existing, social channels, email lists, that kind of thing, to help, of course, blow up your Instagram account. And so those are the first initial, stages. If you've got a bigger list, obviously somewhere else, then it helps you tremendously to get your Instagram off the ground. But if you don't, then there's obviously strategies for hacking sort of growth and that kind of thing we can talk about. Now, once you have a mature account, what you're really trying to do is figure out how to optimize your messaging and really drill into sort of matching your core avatar's, interests, and really figuring out a way to do effective calls to action and get them engaged in whatever your business is in meaningful ways. That's what it's really all about. I love Instagram because I like to call it and Pinterest both social media light. It's just not intensive word-based, stuff that much. It's just a lot faster, simpler social media than, say, Facebook. So.
Yeah, let's talk about engagement, because I'm kind of at the point where I'm throwing things against the wall, and I'll have a post that I think is awesome and no engagement. And then the next day I'll have what I consider a so-so post and it'll blow up. And do you have any tips or strategy to get more consistency there?
Sure. Yeah. You basically want to think through your content strategy, and think of it like I talk about in the book with content blueprint. And so the first thing you want to do is have a theme or themes that you start to camp on. And if you go look at big Instagram accounts, you'll quickly see, and you can go look at Lewis Howes or Rachel Hollis or Gary Vee, they'll tell you what their themes are when they've done speeches or that kind of thing. So they'll say, hey, I speak about, never giving up. I speak about, these, 4 or 5 things. Lewis Howes has, 3 or 4 he speaks about. Gary Vee says he has a list of like 14 or something like that. But they have these themes that are sort of like their anchor topics. And then from the theme, then they develop their content strategies. What are they going to share of value? Whether it's quotes, whether it's, photos, videos, go lives, that kind of thing. And then the way in which you do that, the frequency and the type of Instagram, method you use is really how you sort of bake the cake fully. And so if you're throwing things at the wall, then the question is, do you at least have a set of themes that you've said, okay, this is my content that I'm going to put in Instagram? And I think most business people have to they either get that sorted out, or they're just random crazies on Instagram and just, it's just randomness. So doing that work, I think, is important. And that's not complicated. Just take a half day, go meditate by the lake somewhere and think through, how could I add value in a meaningful way, authentic way to my core audience?
What about the balance between the photos, the quotes, the videos? Do you have is there a certain ratio you should go for? Does it depend on the industry or the person?
Yeah. And in some of my trainings, I have screenshots of all the biggest influencers, and you can clearly see that many of them have a very methodical approach to what they're doing. So for example, Lewis Howes does a photo, then a video, and then a photo. And he just repeats that pattern: photo, video, photo, photo, video, photo. Rachel Hollis is photo, quote, photo, photo, quote, photo. Gary Vee mixes it up a little bit, but in general, you just want to think through, okay, what's realistic in terms of my capacity to do video, which is sort of the harder thing. Are quote cards something of interest to my tribe or followers? Those are highly used, because I think of this one thing: they add value to the reader. Like if I share a quote with you and you're waking up and you're looking at Instagram and you're like, dang, that's pretty good thought for the day. I've added value into your life. So quotes are used, I think, because of that reason, and people like them because of that reason. And so you want to just get your system down and just be methodical about it and say, okay, every third thing I'm doing is going to be a video, or, that kind of thing, and sort it out between sort of the common things. If you look at my feed at Mr. Jason Miles, it's a quote card, a photo, a quote card, a quote card, a photo, a quote card. And so that's basically exactly how Rachel Hollis does it. Lewis Howes just inserts a video instead of a photo. They get higher engagement sometimes, and it's just a longer engagement methodology. So.
Yeah, let's talk about video, because I just came back from traffic and conversion, and there are 2 takeaways from that. First of all, don't introduce yourself in the first 6 seconds of the video. They harped on that pretty hard, because the average attention span is around 6 seconds. So if you do that, you kind of lose people. And then the other thing was just text. That 85% of people, when they're scrolling through, they're not listening, they're not having sound on. So if you don't have text in your video, you're really missing out. Any other tips there? I'm assuming you agree with what I just said.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. The other thing that just is important to think through is just the fact that, it is sort of a contest of getting attention. And so I think what Lewis Howes does with his video, his every other day video, is smart, because you're scrolling past, these content pieces. You see a photo, I'm like, okay, even if it has a quote card, okay, you can read a quote really fast. That's fine. But if you see somebody with a video with text underneath and it catches your attention, you'll stop. And then that length of engagement, is more meaningful. The other thing, of course, for video is you've got like 3 main methodologies for video on Instagram now. Really 4 if you count boomerang. But 1-second videos are hard to do content in, but I've got some ideas. But anyway, so you've got your feed video you can do. You've got your, story videos, go live, and then you've got your IGTV, which is designed for long form video. So you've got the different, methodologies inside of Instagram to work through too. Yeah. And really when I teach people about the content blueprint, I say, you want a content blueprint for your feed, but then you also want a content blueprint for stories and story highlights, and then for IGTV. So there's a lot to Instagram now. I mean, when it was just, a few years ago when I first wrote the first edition of Instagram Power, there wasn't business tools, there wasn't advertising, there wasn't the, stories or IGTV. So there just wasn't that much to work with,
Let's talk about hashtags, because I think that's something that I'm also in that playing around phase. I don't even want to give my own thoughts on hashtags, so I definitely don't know what I'm doing. I'd love to hear yours. How do you figure out what hashtags are right for your business, and are you using the same ones over and over? Are you getting a list of 100 and going 30 here, 30 here, 30 here, and kind of alternating? What's your strategy there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's two use cases. One use case is working with your own hashtag. So that's a whole business strategy. It's like, you set up a hashtag that you camp on and use regularly with your tribe. There's ways in which that's really powerful. And I'd love to share an example of that. But then the other one that you're sort of describing is like just using hashtags in association with your content for, a further reach into your niche or industry. So you get 30 to use. I have heard people say that if you use the same 30 on every post, you will get a diminished reach over time. The algorithm will notice that and will sort of dampen what you're doing. So that's sort of interesting. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's sort of speculation. And so I think you probably, to your point, want to have a set of hashtags that for your industry are the top hashtags that are really well used. Now, there's a dance there, though, because if you use a hashtag that's really super well used, your content and that hashtag feed will just go by like that.
Right.
And if you don't have a huge number of engagements, likes, and comments, that kind of thing, it won't be a top hashtag, or a top content piece for that hashtag. And so the value of doing that is maybe dubious. So you want to find a sweet spot where you kind of have hashtags that are well used, but not too well used, and that are being used by your right avatar, your correct people that you want to connect with, but not so hugely used that it's really of no value to you. So there's a dance there. You kind of have to find your way. On the set up your own content, hashtag, side for your own content, a lot of businesses are doing very creative things. You can use them for contests. You can use them for content curation, user-generated content. We do that for our companies. You can check it out on Pixie Fair. Look at the bottom of our homepage. There's a carousel where our hashtags are used, and then we have something called an inspiration page, where it's just like a Pinterest-style grid of all user-generated content, and then it's connected to our products. So for e-commerce people, this is almost like shoppable posts, where on your own website you can have images that people look at and then can buy the item associated in the image. We have a company we own, Home and Garden America, that is got the Instagram account has 164,000 followers. So it's our biggest account. And they have done, we've purchased the company. They started originally doing a very interesting hashtag strategy where they have in their bio, you can go check it out. It's called the Happy Gardening Life. They have in their bio, use the Happy Gardening Life hashtag to be featured. And so then people use that hashtag, and then they're using their content in their feed. They're just taking the photo, and then they give credit to the original person. So in a way, it's like a daily contest. And at first when we first purchased the company, I was like, well, are they just taking people's content? But then I was like, well, they're giving them credit, And when I looked at those other accounts, a lot of times they have 500 followers, 1,000 followers. So to them, having Happy Gardening Life feature their photo is like winning like a shout out prize from a mega influencer. And so the hashtag strategy is central to that. And that hashtag, I think, has 245,000 photos associated with it. So yeah, so I mean, that's a way to use them as well.
Interesting. What are the biggest mistakes you see people make that they're doing
Yeah.
consistently?
Yeah, I mean, I think your profile in Instagram is really I mean, it is really the most optimal turf you have. And so you want to have that, you want to have your headshot set up professionally, of course, or the logo for your company. You want to think through that bio space is basically 150 characters. You've got to have super, super focused copyright and really think through what you want your avatar to see, any hashtag associated accounts. You want to have some kind of claim to fame, tidbit in there. And then you also want to have a call to action in there. And the call to action, you can go check out at Mr. Jason Miles if you want to see how I do it. But I basically have two fingers pointing down, and in between those, it says training vids, and it points down to the link in the bio. So my call to action is, if you want training from me, click the link in the bio. And so that is the, kind of central piece. And then, as we've already talked about, the content strategy, I think a lot of people just throw spaghetti at the wall. They don't really have a well thought out, methodical content plan. And I would really encourage everybody to just do that.
Speaking of context, is there a certain amount of text that you should limit to? I know, so I've kind of done some really long text to go with the picture and some shorter ones. What's your take there?
Yeah, it's really interesting. At first, when Instagram was, like, when I wrote the first edition of the book in 2012, 2013, it was very uncommon for there to be very much caption information in a photo or video. And then in the last couple years, really interesting trends have started to happen where people will, and maybe you've seen this, people will share a photo and then they'll just write this full on like journal of like their, I don't know, this long, profound, like they're writing an essay on something. And frequently they have nothing to do with each other. It's just like the photo is one thing and the essay is something else. And I think what's happening, and because it's a very common practice now, I think what's happening is people realize you want engagement, and you can get engagement by somebody looking at the photo and saying, oh, I like that photo. But you can also get engagement by somebody saying, thought for the day, do you struggle with depression? And then have 5 paragraphs about overcoming depression, and people will like and comment on that. So it's really about smart marketers, I think, optimizing what you get. And that caption is something you get to communicate a message and engage with people. Yeah.
Very interesting. I'm assuming you've heard Gary Vee's $1.80 strategy.
Tell me, refresh my memory.
Essentially, I forget how he words it. It's like you put your 2 cents into, or your 2 cents into other people's content a few times every day, really establishing yourself there, and that'll get people to come back to you.
Sure.
Any thoughts on, less on your own content, but more on commenting and liking other people's content to increase your own following?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's 3 or 4 things that are top of mind for most people. Following other people is, Instagram does have the follow to be followed sort of approach that Twitter, a lot of people pioneered that on Twitter. Follow to be followed. Go find the right people and then follow them, and a percentage of them will follow you back. So people manage that, that's a common methodology. And then obviously, if you're going to follow somebody, you can like their photos or videos. You can leave comments. In essence, those are tactics to be on that person's radar. And so if you're doing, the main thing is, who are those people? Are you finding the right people? So that's what you want to start to think about is, how do I find my ideal customer on Instagram? And then how do I go do those types of tactics to engage with them? DMing people should be on the list as well. Responding to comments should be on the list as well. So you've got following, you've got liking, you've got commenting, you've got DMing, you've got responding to comments, all designed to really get you in connection to people. Yeah.
Awesome. Jason, this was great. I know I'm going to definitely follow you. I want to check out your book. Where
The
can people
book.
find you? Yes. Where can people get the book?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon right now. I'm just asking everybody to go and get a pre-order copy on Amazon. It comes out March 8th. And I'm doing a special little pre-order bonus between now and March 8th. I've got 15 hours of video training associated with this. And I'm old school. This is not slick or anything like that. If you pre-order the book, forward me your Amazon receipt to my email, jason@libertyjaneclothing.com. That's LIBERTYJANE clothing.com. And I'll forward you the links to all the videos. So nothing slick or fancy. It's really me. No, just shoot me an email, and I'll hook you guys up. And that goes away after the book comes out, so March 8th. So it's really for the next week.
And where can people find you on Instagram?
At Mr. Jason Miles.
Awesome. And I'm at the real Nate Hirsch. So thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for watching. This was great. I'm sure we'll have you back on in the future.
Good deal, man. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, I'm making content like this all the time. If you like this video, please comment and like below. Also, click the subscribe button to get even more content brought to you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back at the end of the next video to remind you again.